Greetings and welcome to this practice WOD called Meteor Bootstrap Browser History. What we're going to do in this WOD is we're going to take some code that you developed previously, this Bootstrap Browser History, and we're going to port it into Meteor. In the sense we're going to use this application template called Meteor Application Template, which has this sample Meteor application, and then we're going to update that application to basically display the Bootstrap browser history pages. Okay, or actually single page, because this is just a one-page thing. So in order to do that, and this is just a way of starting to get you comfortable playing around with Meteor apps, and in particular using this template and understanding the basic structure of a Meteor app in terms of this application template. Which we'll be using as we develop all of our Meteor applications. And you'll find over time that there's a lot of different ways you can structure Meteor applications, and this is a reasonable one that puts things in kind of logical places. And as you get comfortable with it, hopefully what you'll realize is when you want to build a new Meteor app, you start with this and you make progress a lot faster. So obviously before starting you should have completed the Bootstrap browser history experience and also go through this Meteor application template carefully. That means downloading it, reading the documentation, watching the associated screencast carefully, pausing it, make sure you kind of understand what is going on, running the application locally so you get a visceral feel for how it's supposed to work, and then create an IntelliJ project to point at this local copy of the application and then click through all the files, trying to get a sense for how they all work. Having gone through all of the sample Meteor apps that we did last week, there's nothing new in this template actually. It's all stuff you've seen before. It's just organized a little bit differently. Alright, so that's all the prelude. And so all we're going to do here is we're going to make a copy of this Meteor application template in a new GitHub repo called Meteor Browser History, and we're going to update the files. And this is the process that we're going to use to do it. Okay, so let's start by starting the timer. And we have to create a GitHub repo called Meteor Browser History. So we'll go to github.com and we'll say new repository, and we'll say Meteor Browser History, and let's initialize it with a README, sure. Okay, and then we'll clone in the desktop. So, unfortunately I have an old one here. Let me remove that, and then go back. Say clone in desktop again. Okay, here we go. So we'll say Philip M. Johnson and clone, and now we've got it in our repo. So let's go back to Chrome and see what the next step is. Now this is a little bit of the tricky part. We're going to import the Meteor application template code into our local repo. So if we look at our local repo here, okay, Meteor Browser History, you see it's got, it's completely empty except for that README file. So we're going to use some command line GitHub to update our repo to contain the contents. And there's, we could just go to Meteor application template and just, get the zip file and then kind of copy stuff over. But there's another way to do it, which is explained here, which is to add this repo as an upstream repo to our Meteor Browser History and then fetch it and merge it. Okay, so this is a kind of a popular approach in Git. Okay, and so we'll try it out here. So the first thing we have to do is we have to go into Meteor Browser History. We go into our repo. Here's our repo. Okay, and then we're going to invoke this. We're going to add this Meteor application template.git as an upstream repo. It's a remote upstream, and it's going to be called template. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to say git fetch. Okay, so this is actually going to bring that template into our local repository. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to say merge the template into our master branch, which is where we're working now, and then we'll actually see it in there. So let's do that. Okay, and so it did the merge, but it says there's a merge conflict in the readme.md. Okay, so let's go to, let's actually go back here, and it says resolve any merge conflicts at this time and commit the changes. Okay, so actually in order to do that, we're going to create the IntelliJ project. So let's go here. Okay, and we'll say create new project, static web, and Philip M. Johnson, Meteor browser history, choose, finish. And then let's slide this puppy over. Okay, and then let's look at our README file. Okay, and the problem is that we created this empty README file as part of initializing the repo, which has a newer timestamp than the README that's merged as part of the Meteor application template. Okay, so it turns out we actually, one way we can resolve this is we can just select and delete all the code, all the contents of README, because we don't we don't want any of the README file information from the template. That's all associated with the template. This could be a new application. So we could just replace it with something like, you know, Meteor browser history. Okay, and that's completely fine. So having done that, we've resolved that, that merge conflict by updating the contents of the README file. We can now go to GitHub. Okay. And what we can see is we've got our app directory that's been added, and we've got our JSHint, our gitignore, okay, a doc, license, readme. Okay, so that all looks good. So we'll say committing the template files. Okay, and so I'll do a commit. Actually, let's see if I can uncheck this, because I think this is the way that the Windows people have it. It's a commit to master. So we've committed to master, and then we have to sync, which will actually make sure it'll do a pull and then a push to make sure that the remote server GitHub has the same content. So now we can review this on GitHub, and what we can see is now our Meteor browser history has the contents of the template, with the README file has been updated, but everything else looks just the way it should for the template. Okay, so our repo contains the template. That's good. We've created our static IntelliJ project. Now we want to change directories in the app directory, verify that we can run the template. So we've got to make sure that this code actually runs. So we'll do cd app, and then we'll do Meteor. And when we just run Meteor, we'll find we get a little bit of an error. Okay, so it says no default user, please invoke Meteor with a settings file. Okay, so that actually doesn't prevent us from actually displaying the template file just fine. It just means that under normal operation, we are supposed to invoke it with Meteor -- settings and a config file which will establish a default user. So just for the purposes of kind of understanding what's going on, let's quit and let's invoke it with this settings.development.json file. And when we do that, it starts up normally and it looks just the same as it always did. It's just that now there is this default user that we could log in with it. We're not even going to worry about that for this particular application, but it's probably, it's kind of it's good for you to kind of just understand what's going on here. Okay, so we've changed directories in the app directory and we verified that we can run the template application. Now we should open the Bootstrap branch of our browser history project in IntelliJ. So let's go to IntelliJ. Let's open recently, and here's the browser history. Okay, so let's open that, and what we can see is that there's just two files here, right? There's our index.html, which contains it's basically all the Bootstrap code, and then there's our simple style.css. Okay, so we've opened that. So we now have two projects open in IntelliJ, our browser history project and the Meteor browser history project. Okay, so first step is we're going to update app client templates application main.html. Let's just find that puppy in Meteor browser history. App client templates application main. Okay, so here it is in this, and that contains the head of the application. In browser history, let's find the head of the application. It's this piece right here. Okay, so what we want to do is kind of do the porting, but let's go look and see what they say. They say, note that you only need to update the title element. All the remaining Bootstrap related code will be automatically supplied by Meteor. So this is the first thing that's kind of cool, is that doing the meta, providing the Bootstrap code, all this shim stuff, adding in the link to the style.css, all that's going to be done for us automatically by Bootstrap. The only thing we have to actually update in our head is the the title field. Okay, so to accomplish this, we're just going to fix that, and that's all we have to do to update the head. Okay. Now it says update app client templates application header.html. So if we go in here and we look, if we go in here, sorry, I'm already here. Okay, so the header template is what contains our navbar in our template. Okay, so what we want to do this part of it is to go to browser history, find our navbar, which is right here. So we're going to copy it, and then we're going to go back to Meteor browser history, and then we'll select, and we'll paste, and now our header in our Meteor browser history, the header contains our navbar from the actual browser history. Okay, so we've done 9. Then update app client templates home. This is the home area of the templates. Home.html to hold the main page code. We don't need to port the script elements. These will be supplied automatically. So here is home. Okay, so this is the kind of the main page of our application. And if we go to browser history, that's going to be this div class container, all this stuff here, not including the scripts. That's all done by Meteor. So we'll go here, template, select all the junk in that template, paste, and there we go. Okay. Finally, update app client style sheet style.cs to hold your custom CSS declarations from browser history style.css. So if we go to style sheets style.css in our Meteor browser history, it's got this sample stuff. Let's go find browser history style.css. It's almost got the same thing. It's got that one other little thing for image. So we'll copy that, go to Meteor browser history, paste that in, and we've done that one. run Meteor, inspect our page at localhost 3000, fix any remaining issues. Okay, so actually it's been running all this time. Let's take a look, and you know, looks pretty good, right? Oh, look at that, there's a footer. Okay, we don't want that in ours. So let's go back to here. Let's find the footer. It's code here, it's here. And I think the easiest thing to do is let's just delete this code. So if we save it out, what we'll notice is that after a little bit of time it automatically refreshes, having noticed the change in code, and now our footer's gone. And now it looks just perfect. It looks exactly like the following image shows what it should look like. Okay, that image is missing, but I'll fix that when I before you see this page. But this is what it's supposed to look like. Okay, so commit our changes to GitHub. So we'll say finished porting browser port. I don't think we say finished. We say ported browser history code into template. So we'll commit to master, and then we'll sync. And I think we're done. Stop your timer and record your time. So 14:17, we'll call this a 15-minute practice WOD, and hopefully, and you know, there's a lot of things, as I say at the bottom, there's a lot of things. We didn't really update the repo to be compliant. We didn't make the README file good. We didn't use JS hint. There's a lot of stuff in this repo that's really unrelated to what we're doing now. Perfectly okay for the purpose of this WOD. All I wanted you to do is start to get familiar with the structure of this template app, and be kind of start to feel more comfortable with playing with this code, and you know, ripping stuff out, putting new stuff in, and seeing how that works. So I hope you enjoyed this, and practice it a couple times if you need to.